Hi again guys, and welcome to a very special countdown video. In fact, the first of its kind, because this countdown is our first collaboration between myself and a Patreon pit crew member, specifically Mr. Nathan Howe, aka Nismo Nath 5. So, as the collaboration, I'm just dropping in for the intro and outro, but now Mr. Howe, take it away.
Tuning is one of the best parts of car culture. Whether you're making your car easier to drive, building it into a fire-breathing speed machine, or just making it your own, the options are limitless and the advantages are infinite. But sometimes it's nice to just stop and admire the manufacturer's own handiwork. Drive the cars as they were intended to be driven. Here are 12 cars that you should try driving without tuning or upgrading them. Now, this isn't to say that the cars are the absolute best they can be without any upgrades. All cars would benefit from more power, less weight, better tyres, that sort of thing. But these are cars that, even straight from the dealership, they provide a driving experience worth experiencing. Some are total sleepers, some are merely overlooked due to the presence of better spec variants or versions of the same car, and some are blaringly obvious. But as part of GT6, they're all worth a chance in your hands. And so with that said, let's start the list. Kicking off the list, we have the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 6 RS Tommy Mäkinen edition. This thing is often overlooked in favour of its coloured and striped variant cousins, but in actual fact, although it's plain white and comes with ugly steel rims, it hides one significant advantage. It's 100 kilos lighter than its cousins. Now on top of that, like any Evo, it boasts excellent grip and handling, nearly unrivaled off-road ability, and is just a blast to drive on almost any occasion. Although you might want to swap out those steel rims. Ew. Next up on the list is the Audi R8, specifically the 4.2 FSI R-Tronic. Much like the Tommy Mäkinen RS, the 4.2, being a V8, is often overlooked in favour of its V10 twin, but don't go thinking the V8's any less worthy to drive. With a not at all shabby 400 horsepower driving all four wheels, it presents itself as a not too threatening supercar, great for a gateway into the realm of higher powered road cars, although it's still fun for those with a bit more experience under their belt. It also happens to be one of my personal favourite V8 sounds in Gran Turismo. And on the topic of great sounding V8s, we come to the McLaren MP412C. Despite having a name that sounds more like a fax machine, this weapon packs nearly 600 horsepower of twin-turbo goodness into the sort of raw driving experience you can only expect from a McLaren. Phenomenal acceleration. Getting the most out of this thing might be tricky for some, especially for those who opt to race without traction control, skid recovery force, that kind of thing, but mastering it will no doubt pay dividends to anyone who's looking to refine their racecraft. We step away from the world of supercars for a while to have a look at the Volkswagen Beetle Cup car. Although this is technically a race car, I'm keeping this one on the list solely because it's really a cup car, which is much tamer than, say, an LMP or a GT3 car. With only 200 horses and a cute compact design, it surprisingly slays the tighter tracks like Tsukuba and Autumn Ring with relative ease, and you can actually push some pretty solid performances out of it. Just don't expect anyone to take you seriously while you're actually driving it. And now we head to America with the Ford Mustang Bosch 302. This car is great fun, despite being a little bit heavier than perhaps it could be, and it is on sport hard tyres. The Boss nonetheless is actually very controllable, very drivable, and you can use it on most types of track. Without tuning, it can drift, it can rally, it can drag race, and it can stick to the corners all without tuning pretty well. Just make sure you're able to counter steer quick, because at the end of the day, she's still rear wheel drive and still likes to stick the rear out when you're trying to corner. Next up is a car that lots of you have probably never noticed nor really cared about, the Skyline GTS 25 Type S. Despite having performance totally inferior to a GTR Skyline, it actually has surprisingly solid torque. It holds its own on most tracks, although obviously suffers on the longer straights like Fuji. Although not nearly as powerful as the Mustang, it still actually has the potential to get a bit excited in the corners, so don't patronize it too much. Funnily enough, I swear that in GT6, this car has the same noise to it as the Mercedes SLR did in GT4. Go ahead, listen to it. Tell me I'm wrong. I slayed your V8, and you called me a cheater. You're just mad because you can't catch a 2-litre. That's pretty much the catchphrase for this one, the Spoon Civic Type R. Now, 214 horsepower is not an impressive power figure. It's not impressive. But when you place it in a body that weighs only 820 kilos, you've got yourself a recipe for success. Built to N1 specifications, the handling is divine. Just point it where you want to go and it will go. No understeer, surprisingly manageable understeer, and it will very happily punch above its weight, worrying even some of the upper tier sports cars of the Gran Turismo lineup. Moving now into the top 5 of this list, we have the Nissan GTR Nismo. The R35 GTR lineup has always offered superb performance for your money, and the Nismo is no different. For a fraction of the cost of the other supercars on offer, you can take on such heavyweights of the supercar world as the Murcielago SV, the 458 Italia, the Pagani Zonda. Even the Veyron might have a hard time keeping up with the Nismo, if the right driver's behind the wheel. 600 horsepower, all-wheel drive, tremendous handling, and it even comes with sports soft tyres. Bonus! Is the Mustang Boss 302 too tame for you? Do you need an extra dose of power? No, make that 2 extra doses. Then the Shelby GT500 is for you. 4th on the list with a near suicidal 660 horsepower of supercharged V8 greatness going straight to the rear axle. Good luck steering this bad boy without traction control. It's not impossible, but it will demand all the talent you've got, and then some. It's also the better part of 1.7 tons, so make sure that once you've got it up to speed, you have plenty of room to bring it to a halt again. If you really seek to test your driving mettle, then look no further. And now, we're into our top 3. And third on the pick is this. It's got 3 names, so pick one. I'm going to call it the BRZ. The BRZ is almost always seen with loads of tuning and it's heavily customized, and why not? It's an excellent base model for nearly anything. Drift car, rally car, time attack car, or just a simple cruiser. It does the lot. However, take a stock one for a drive and you'll see why it won Car of the Year. Smooth power delivery, easy handling, dirt cheap, and plenty of enjoyment to be had. Man, I'm going to miss Toyota in these future racing games. Our penultimate pick for this list is, again, a car that most of you have probably glossed over or not really given a fair chance, but it's still worth a look. The Nissan Primera 20V. Despite looking as boring and unassuming as a regular Primera, it actually conceals a 2-litre 4-cylinder VVL motor as well as a 6-speed manual gearbox. This gives it quite the sporty sleeper appeal, as although 200 horsepower isn't going to take down any supercars, it'll still make your rivals in Imprezas, RX-7s, Evos and the like look twice as they actually realise you're keeping up with them. and then passing them. It doesn't have the best handling on offer, but it's easy enough to get a hang of and quite fun to push hard, giving the Primera the second spot on this list. And the top pick for the car you should try without tuning or upgrades is the Honda Civic EG. Now, some of you will be severely underwhelmed with this pick, but allow me to explain. With only 167 horsepower, 1040 kilos, and 383 pp, it can punch so high above its weight, it's unbelievable. It is unnaturally nimble, clinging to corners with the same ease as a fully blown race car, and able to maintain speed through corners that would keep it knocking on the bumpers of Fairladies, M3s, Supras and Camaros. It's also the only car in GT6 Car of the Week history in which a dead heat was achieved. And if you were generous enough to give it sport soft tyres, I know tyres count as tuning to some people, but still, if better tyres was all that you did to it, you could use it to beat the Tuning Car Festival race at Cape Ring. That's just how competent this little Civic really is.
And so that is it for this particular countdown vid. So if you enjoyed this and would like the opportunity to work with me here on the channel and craft your own video, one video per month in fact, then head on over to Patreon. The link is down in the description, and you can get this opportunity with both the pit crew and VIP tiers. But that's it overall for this installment. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.